Information Nation. It is your girl, Lady on the Go, Lady in the Know, Miss Info. I'm in the car, and I don't particularly want to have the focus on me this morning. So you are looking at my dashboard because I want to clear up something. I had recently posted for a co-host for my new podcast, Yakety Yak Talkback Radio. And, a couple of people expressed a little interest. Somebody asked, what do you have to do? And, nothing. I mean, that's what it is, Yakety Yak, talking, But I also wanted to make clear why I created both of the channels in the first place. Information Nation, which is what nobody told me after 65, was created so that I could bring to light some issues and perhaps some solutions to things that I thought were important, not only after you turn 65, but at any age, really. Car insurance, health insurance, taking care of your health, having a safe and decent place to live, not getting scammed, all those kinds of things. That was what nobody told me after 65 was created for. However, Yakety Yak Talkback Radio is so that we can have some discussion, some dialogue, talk about some things that are just bothering me, and perhaps bothering you, like the state of the nation, the economy, the person that's in the White House that's running the country into the ground, in my opinion. And again, we're entitled to our opinions, but they are like buttholes. Everybody got one. All right? And I'm going to say that the French philosopher Voltaire said, I may disagree with you, may not agree with everything that you're saying. However, I will fight to the death for your right to say it. Now, I'm going off this morning because recently in my city, there has been an issue with homeless people. The current mayor, who was the former governor, didn't make sense to me either, has sort of kind of set up an encampment in our park that's located on a river. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that the air around a body of water is a lot colder than the air inside the city common. So he's allowed these people to set up camp, because historically, anytime you set a camp of any kind, the police would come and tear it down and all of that. But I've been posting on Facebook, because Facebook is geared towards your local community. So I'm posting on Facebook, and I'm getting some feedback, and we're having some dialogue. And I put my money where my mouth is. I got together with my cousin, and he got together with his friends and went and purchased hand warmers. I have purchased gloves, and I'm going to get together and we're going to buy some sleeping bags in bulk. So I'm not just whistling Dixie. I'm about it, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is. But I think what bothers me more than anything is people leap out there without having all the facts, jumping on a bandwagon without knowing who's behind it or what it's about, and then getting a whole bunch of other people all riled up basically for nothing. Spending energy on stuff that really doesn't matter when you could be utilizing that energy someplace else. I used to tell people who tried to engage me in arguments and what have you, I could be using this breath for something else, far better than arguing with you. And it's not changing your opinion. Case in point, recently there was a posting on Facebook saying that Patti LaBelle, who is a local Philadelphia native, and Philly is not far from Wilmington, and so we keep up with what's happening in Philly. Patti LaBelle had purchased or had built a hospital. It gave the number of rooms. It told, about the OR and how many doctors had been hired and how she walked the first veteran in the door and got him situated. It was a lie. And it was such a good lie, it had been repeated over and over. I pulled it up to see how many times I could see the same story, and I pulled it up at least 8 times, and each time she was in a different colored dress. Same article, same ribbon cutting, and on the same day, but she had time to go and change her dress. That was the first thing that gave me cause for concern. And I went on and did, what do I tell you? My homework, only to find out that it's false. But people were commending her and praising her. Didn't read the story, just looked at the picture, looked at the caption, and went on and went buck wild. I think this thing had over like 1 million views. Of course, for the person who created it, that's what it's about. I call it bait and click. And for every click on most platforms, you get paid. So if you're getting paid a nickel a click, it may not seem like a lot, but if you got 1 million views at a nickel, you're making a few dollars. Anyway, long story short, people are reporting that immigrants are getting better treatment than the people who live here. Come on now. Living in 5-star hotels, and that's not true. And it's not true because we, African Americans, we are immigrants also. I ain't lived in a 5-star hotel ever. Neither did my descendants. Yeah, we were living in some 5-star hellholes, but never in any 5-star hotels. And then the thing about they don't pay taxes and they don't do this. That's if you come here legally, you're sponsored by some organization or agency, and you do get treated better, but it's because they have an agenda. The Archdiocese, the Catholic Archdiocese, was in the past sponsoring people to come here from third world countries and from places where people were starving or they had children and couldn't feed them. Well, why were they bringing them here? So they could be nuns. So they could work in the diocese, live in the diocese as nuns, and be cloistered away from folk. Sort of like servitude, indentured servitude. Now, I got to get some facts behind it, but I have read about it in the past. I think they've stopped it, and that was just recently. But nobody is coming here and getting treated like royalty. Trust me. And if you think that's the case, check it out. Do your homework. Nothing makes me angrier than people with all of the advantageous items that we have, the internet, the thesaurus, the dictionary, Even if you want to go old school and go to the library, there is just too much information available for us to be making statements and following folk blindly like willy-nilly. Check it out first. Another case in point was the Black Lives Matter. That whole thing, when you peeled it back, a white man started it. He funded two black lesbians. He funded it so that it could get started, but the face, these two women, when in fact he was behind it, underneath of it, and when they peeled it back and found that out, it stopped. You don't hear much about it anymore, because really it wasn't about Black Lives Matter. All of a sudden it was Asian Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. You know, they do matter. All lives matter. But don't be trying to trick people. Say who you are. Be about it. Be transparent. Tell the truth. Now, I know this is a longer video than I usually do, but it had to be said. In the meantime, remember, you don't know what you don't know. You better ask somebody. Take care.